a too much of attachment with the body, then it becomes almost difficult to identify or see the image of the Shiva. So both are working at a different level, but it is always with reference to the ego, very subtly. It has to do with that ego. So just keep on doing the practice and see what happens. So the first chapter of this beautiful text has 30, 39? No, it has got 47 topics. So that discusses the general nature of Anubandha Chatushtaya. It has digged deep inside into Anubandha Chatushtaya, means what is the subject matter, what is the result, who is the qualified seeker, and what are the relationship. So in that chapter 1, we discussed about the nature of the self-knowledge. What is the nature? The very knowledge of the real self is pure consciousness. That is why we say, Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. So that Brahma, that real self, is of the nature of the truth, of the nature of infinity, and also of the nature of Ananda, the continued state of the happiness. So that is what our masters brings us back in every discussion, directly or indirectly. Then we also understood the means of the self-knowledge. What are the different means of the self-knowledge? We also discussed that who is a qualified seeker. So to become a qualified seeker, we know 4 requisites: Vivek, Vairagya, Shatak, Sampatti, 6 treasures, and intense desire. We should always think and contemplate desire to have a wealth, desire to have a house, desire to have a car. They are outside. So what is outside is limited, that I can see. What I see has a limited nature because it has a name in the form. Whether it is computer, car, house, it is limited in nature. So when the mind recognizes that this objectification or objective knowledge cannot help me to know the real self. I remember I told you that there is one master I don't want to name who has maybe 50 million followers worldwide. You have a very good presence in Ukraine also. So he wanted me to be the coordinator of Australia unit. So I said, I only asked him one question, that you are confident that what you teach I can teach to your students, but can I teach what I have learned from my master? And his answer was no. So then I told him that I'm not joining for the sake of becoming a chief, working under you, getting little more money. I'm already happy with whatever I'm getting. Sometimes I have difficulties, sometimes I have challenges. That is with everyone. He asked me, who is your teacher? So I told him. So when I was in Jakarta, he went to meet my master. So he has a huge ashram in southern India, What is huge? He has 67 acres of ashram, acres of that, where he built a beautiful ashram around, around, you can say around 1 million people can go there and can practice meditation together. He has such a huge hall. Modern amenities, So he told my master has a small ashram, he is not interested in even in the ashram. So this master told my master that, why don't you go there? I have a 67 acres of the ashram. And he started explaining it. So after half an hour, my master told me the story, that guy has come to see that who is the master of you. So my master told him that you have only 67 acres out of the entire universe. The entire universe belongs to me. So you see that entire universe belongs to you. That it means, it is only one. It is not two. He had to leave it. He's a good master, no doubt. He's a good master, but something of the ego is left. So when your ego is left, you are always attached to something outside. Maybe it's a recognition, maybe it is your wealth or possessions. It does not mean that you don't use it, you don't own it, but you are not attached. So that helps you to discover that infinity. But that is why we learned that what is real, false, and the unreal. So pay more attention on contemplation and reflection of what is false. The moment you see anything in the world, the moment you wake up in the morning, you see your house or anything, any object. First, we recognize the limitations of the objects, possessions, and the wealth. First limitation, then the false nature, and when we recognize the false nature, what is left is the infinity, the unlimitedness of any. You are unlimited, I am unlimited. So as long as I am attached to the body and the mind and the thoughts and the ideas, that infinity, obviously to recognize that infinite consciousness would obviously be a problem. That is why we have viveka, real, false, and the unreal. And in the second, higher the level of contemplation, reflection, higher the level of dispassion. Higher the level of dispassion. So what happens? The mind now inquires. Mind does the inquiry with clarity, without any impurity in the mind. So we discussed briefly. So then obviously we discussed about the 6 treasures. At the same time we understood that what are the defects of the sense objects when a seeker raises the objections. So let us, like this, we have covered the 39 topics. And so the 40th topic raises some of the objections which we have not covered in the first chapter. But always, don't forget, contemplate and reflect on the Anubandha Chatushtaya, the four connections, and the fourfold qualification. So this master says that do you have really an intense desire for realization. Yes, I forgot to tell you one thing. I started the topic and I skipped it. Desire to acquire the wealth needs self effort. There is a time frame and the distance I have to cover. There is always a personal effort. That is why we feel that we are stressed in acquiring a wealth. For anything, pleasure, whether it's a sexual pleasure or eating the food I have to go to the restaurant, the food I like, it takes time. So, desire to achieve anything that is not with me in the world demands karma, effort, planning, project. Physical action, mental action. Desire to know the real self simply means I have to start the contemplation and reflection. Why? Real self is already within me. Peace is already within me. Do you see the difference? I need not to do any step. I need not to make any effort because it is already within me. It is already attained. The wealth is not attained. It is not in the bank. So I have to get it from outside. Then it will be deposited in the bank. But that wealth of the real self is already within me. So when it is already within me, what to do? Contemplate and reflect based on the principles of Eastern wisdom. So you see normally people raise their objections, after all you say leave all the desires. Yes, leave all the desires. So we mean to say leave all the desires that makes you run, that makes you actually busy, that gives you the stress. Here the desire to know the real self is just start finding, remove the ignorance. How you remove the ignorance and start asking the questions. Start understanding the nature of the real self, for which you need not to make any effort in the world outside. You have to contemplate, you have to reflect in your mind. Where is the first step? So, at a higher seeker, for the higher seeker, they are the internal steps that we have covered. What are the internal steps? Shravan, Manan, and Nididhyasana. Listening and learning continuously from a teacher, then contemplation and reflection, and followed by the practice. You can just take it Nididhyasana as a practice. Gradually, we will understand even Nididhyasana or meditation is not a practice at all. We remove the doubt and we are there. So then you may remember that this master says there are three types of Shravanam. So first type of the Shravanam demands a qualified mind to listen to these principles and learn it. And second type of the Shravanam demands, we should now contemplate and reflect on the three states of the mind, three bodies, five koshas, the duality between the nature of the matter and the consciousness, and ultimately we find we find the binary format of matter and the consciousness, and in the end we see matter does not exist. It is simply a superimposition on the consciousness. That is real. Why there is a superimposition? Because of the delusion. From where the delusion comes? Because of the ignorance. So that we are going to take up in detail, possibly in the third chapter, but we are talking of the second chapter, in which we take a special mention how other doubts creeping in the mind leaves us in ignorance, even after understanding that. So go back to the first type of the simply take up the Shravan, as we discussed that there is a casual listening. That casual listening is hearing. And essential listening is that you are learning, you are listening with paying attention to each and every word. So, most of the hearing, you can call the daughter by name, so it means it is hearing. But listening, that you listen the in line with the principles of the Eastern wisdom. So understood, we also understood that this listening and learning as an instrument is used by every teacher to shift the nature of the mind by listening, by understanding, by contemplation and reflection. And that is also we discussed in detail the right side and the left side of the heart. So that also makes you a listening. Now come to the topic number 40. So in the topic number 40, the seeker objects. What is the objection? You cannot eliminate all the desires. But Master says if you eliminate until you eliminate all the desires of the world, you cannot remove the ignorance. But the seeker says, and that is intentionally, it happens. It will continue in the beginning. So the seeker, even though a person is a higher level of a seeker, so his or her mind thinks everything is okay, let me continue to enjoy the pleasure and also awaken to my real self. Let there be a self-realization along with I will continue to have the pleasures of the world. As long as I have pleasures of the world, there continues to be duality. People don't say it, but even for the higher seeker, that sense prevails all the time. Argument? Where is the argument? I have money, I have time, I am paying you, that is why I'm listening to you. If I have problems of eating to maintain the breath, how can I listen to you? One objection. Like this, there are millions of objections. So we are going to resolve this objection. First, listen to these objections. This number 40. So seeker says, no one desires. Even the seeker does not desire to eliminate the world, which gives me a pleasure. I eat the food, it gives me the pleasure. And you are removing that pleasure to seek the self-realization. I'm not ready for it. But the Master says, unless you eliminate all the desires, you cannot reach to that state. So that is an objection. We are going to solve it. It is a normal tendency because this mind lives in ignorance since birth. So even we become a higher level of a seeker, we do not want to eliminate the world because that world gives me the pleasure. Well, it's a direct experience. You are sitting on the couch, and which is comfortable. So when you come in contact with the couch, obviously it gives the comfort. That is also a pleasure. That's a genuine objection. So we are going to resolve that objection. That what is the subtler, finer level of awareness where we feel, where the mind is feeling more dependent on the objects of the world. What to do, how to understand it. And then our intellect is dictated by the mind. Then the intelligent people say that let me continue the world. to have all the pleasures, but at the same time, let me have also the self-realization. Not possible. Not possible. Why it is possible, how it is possible, that we are going to understand slowly. The second objection, the seeker raises the objection. You are saying that real self desire the real self. And on the other hand, you say, Janati ichhati karoti. If I don't know the pasta, I cannot desire it. I don't know the pasta, I cannot. You see, this master is working so at a very subtler level. So now do you believe that I know real self? No, you don't know it. So when I don't know the real self, how can I desire? Without having a knowledge of the real self, unless I know the smartphone, it has an utility, it has many properties, I can keep it in pocket, I can take the entire world in the smartphone anywhere, and then I have a desire. Oh, is that so? My mind triggers. No, I must possess it. I must own it. See the objections. Objection is genuine. But ultimately, the genuine objections becomes the false. That we have to understand. At present, we do not know. We have to know it. So this 41st objection by the seeker, that the real self or the Brahm or the supreme consciousness is unknown to me. He says to the master, it is unknown to me. Do you agree? Master says, yes, I agree. So when I don't know the supreme self or the real self, how can I desire? So all our meditation practices are just false, hypocrisy? No. We are going to understand that answer. Why? How? Where? We have to go deeper. So, but Master points out, we will understand, I'm just giving you a hint. Master says that you are raising the objection because you don't want to leave the pleasures of the world. How do you say that? Don't you get a pleasure or so-called peace and happiness in deep sleep? Yes, I get it. Don't you leave the mind and the body in the deep sleep? Yes, I did it. Do you know it? No, I don't know it, and still you sleep every day? If I ask you not to sleep for 7 days, would you agree? No, I won't agree. Now the seeker is now caught up. So it's all an understanding. It's all demands an understanding. So we will understand. So people desire objects only if experienced before it is joyful. So this objection also contains a hidden delusion of the mind. What is that hidden delusion of the mind? I like pasta. I have experienced before. That is why my mind is going there. So I want to keep the pleasure. Now I know it, definitely. The food I like, the clothes I wear, the computer I use, the smartphone I use, I enjoy. I have experienced it before. That is why I am going there. What is the problem with you? Master says we don't have any problem. We only have a problem that you are living in ignorance. You don't have a problem whether the real self is known or unknown. It is all a question of that you have to enter into your house before you see the house. So the entire Eastern wisdom points you out, hints you, here is the real self. So we are keeping, and the moment you start approaching to the real self, even by listening and learning, and even by doing some practice. Every practice gives you some state of the calmness. Even when you don't know, you have to get to know the real self. So we will go into a deeper level of discussion. I'm just pointing you out. Then another objection, the topic number 42. So he says that I am only interested to bring an end to all the sorrow and the suffering. I am 100. Seeker is raising an objection. Seeker says, forget about the real self, forget about the supreme consciousness, which is of the nature of peace, happiness, love, truth, and wisdom. Forget about it. It is all pervading. Forget about it. He says, my main concern is that bring an end to the suffering. I will take care of my life. 99% of the people who joins the Eastern wisdom, who does all these practices to bring an end to the suffering, they are not interested in the real self. You see the level of ignorance that we all have. My mind is not naturally focused, even after understanding what is real self, what is the false self. Our goal, the mind is totally obsessed, bring an end to all the suffering. You promise that there is twofold goal of Eastern wisdom, bring an end to the suffering and awakening to the real self. So he says, I am really convinced because I don't know the real self, so I cannot desire it. So he said, leave that part. It's a good objection. It appears is a good objection. So in the topic number 42, the seeker raises the objection that I'm telling you that I'm only interested in bring an end to the suffering. You told that, there is an infinite bliss, there is a permanent nature of the peace and happiness. So give me, so if I bring an end to the suffering, in fact, that is enough. Then I will see whether I have a permanent peace and happiness or not. Topic number 42. Why? So we will understand that in detail because I'm already attached to so many things. Because of the past impressions, my mind is always full of desires. They may trigger me. That is preventing me to think and contemplate about the real self. I'm more concerned about the pain in the body, anxiety in the mind. They will definitely be removed. But my immediate concern is this. Teach me something or give me some meditation by which I can continue to have the pleasure in the body. So we already have seen the hippie movement. You see the beauty of understanding is this. Beauty of understanding. I'm just talking in modern context. So that guy was saying that you are telling me that I will enter into the permanent happiness. This guy, I don't want to tell you the name, he's working in Google. He works for 20 hours. And where the location, the office of the Google is there in California, you don't have a space, you don't have a house. You are earning $100,000, you have to pay $6,000 as a rent for only one studio apartment. So $72,000 are already gone. What should I do? So people have an RV, recreational van, where you have a restroom and the small kitchen. Majority of Google employees who are earning over $100,000, they are living in that van. They are living in that van. No, anyone can say, as per the standard of modern living, oh, you're getting $100,000. Where are you living in a recreation van? You have only Saturdays and Sunday. You clean the recreation van. You clean your clothes. And Monday to Friday, 20 hours of work. And who has arranged it? Now the Google is arranging those recreational vans. I'm just giving an example. So this 42 objection. 42nd is that so then he has an intense attachment that we will cover deeply. I'm just giving you so for you to think and contemplate so that your mind becomes clear. So a seeker, even we become a higher level of a seeker, that higher level of a seeker is dictated by the past impressions already present in the mind. So that past impression triggers in the mind, it goes to the intellect, and the intellect says, you are talking of only oneness. Only there is one reality, that is pure consciousness. And I enjoy the pleasure only when there is a duality. When there is some object outside, I am different from the object. My mind says I enjoy that object or that person, whether it's a sexual pleasure, eating food, or so seeker says I am not interested in non-dual oneness, one reality in the entire cosmos. I will continue to enjoy my dual nature because I already have a luxury bed which costing $2,000. So when I lie there, so I enjoy that. So I don't want to remove that duality from the mind. I already have a, what is that? Which car is the costliest? Maybe whatever the car is the costly. I already have that car. So I recognize that car is different from me. While sitting, I have boost my ego and I enjoy it. So don't remove that duality. Just bring an end to the suffering. I'm only interested to bring an end to the suffering. We will find an answer. You think of it. Is it possible? No. If it is no, why? If it is yes, why? You have to think of it. Contemplate and reflect. That how this dual nature or the the non-dual nature and the dual nature, what is the catch lies between the pleasure and removing the pleasure that we get from the world. We will understand that. So Master says, the seeker says, I'm not interested in the second part of your goal that I will enter into the permanent peace and happiness. There is a one reality. Let me live, continue into the dual nature. Already, after all, I have earned money. I have done so much of effort. I have a big house. I have a big car. I have all the clothes. I have a plane. Let me enjoy it. So the way the master will discuss, it blows our mind. Then the topic number 43, if I read it, topic number 43. Now he says, it's such a beautiful argument, seeker objection. If we don't remove this objection, we all keep that in mind unconsciously and habitually. What is that? He says no dispassion and viveka is required. No viveka, and why? Because you will kill the dual nature of the world. I have already accumulated so many objects, and you are branding them as a false. So you directly tell me how to bring an end to the suffering. I am only interested in that. It appears the genuine objection. No one here, but at the same time, seeker says, do you think that anyone can reach to the highest level of viveka and vairagya? Do you really think? He is opposing the master. But he is a seeker. That is why he is opposing the master. He is ready to listen. He's not opposing just and to refuse the journey. He's not leaving it. He says, no, explain to me. You have already made me bore by 39 topics, but now I want to make you bore. And there the teacher comes and teacher answers this objection also. So in the 43rd objection by the seeker, he says that there is no qualified seeker in the world who can achieve 100% of viveka and vairagya. Not possible. Think of it. Is it possible? And if it is possible, how? If it is not, how? I'm just leaving you in this session, I'm leaving you to think of it. Complete dispassion and complete discernment. Is it possible? It is only possible with the human being. That we will understand. But I'm just giving you a hint. As a human being, it is 100% possible. No other living species can achieve that state. So then you have to question what is special in the human being. And then we come to a conclusion, yes, it is 100% possible. So why the seeker is raising this objection? Why? It is maybe because the mind is addicted to the worldly pleasure. So I will continue to have the addiction of the worldly pleasure. Why you are talking of viveka and vairagya? But the simple answer is, as long as the worldly pleasure is there, so mind already understands the pleasure is outside, not inside. It comes with the contact with the objects. So there is no reason to search the real self inside. So we will understand those things. Topic number 44. Here he says, we are going to understand from the Upanishad, there is known as Bhuma Vidya. It's a beautiful way. So here in the topic number 44, now the teacher argues that desire to eliminate sorrow completely can create a desire for negation of the duality. It's very subtle through the knowledge. You have to understand that clearly. So if I agree with the teacher, or if the teacher makes you agree that you completely eliminate all the desires of the world, what will happen? My mind will start following. It will get obsessed. It will reject everything that comes on the way. Even when I am eating the food, it is giving me the pleasure and I reject it. Even when I am lying down on the bed, I am sleeping, it will reject it. That will cause an abnormal condition. What I am trying to make a point here, that sometimes the mind gets too much obsessed with this principle, let me drop everything. So what happens to those people? They have a lot of desires inside the mind and they run into the Himalayas and they say, now I will do the penance, I will stand on one foot and I will reach to that state. So that is an extreme position. It is not possible. Now you have totally opposed all the desires. So what is the key point? We said, remove the attachment, clinging. But what is needed for the physical survival, you have to continue. You need not to stand on one foot to do the meditation, which is not required. Your mind will move down to the lower level of animal tendencies. Don't do that. I believe you are getting it. The subtler nature Ignorant mind is like a pendulum. I like you, I love you, I'm getting all the pleasure. One side of the pendulum. Now I dislike you, I hate you, I divorce you. The second type, the pendulum moves on the other side. Now let me find another. Oh, here, you give me the pleasure. Again, no, you don't give me the pleasure. So the master is pointing out, don't swing your mind like a pendulum. We are not asking you to go to the extreme. We are asking you to change the mind that is constantly wandering, distracted because of the desires from the external world. Don't eliminate any object. Eliminate the ignorance of the mind that is causing the likes and dislikes, that is causing the attachment. Otherwise, you will continue to accumulate the karma, the impressions, and the vasanas, and it is not going to help you. So that is what the teacher also gives you a hint in 45th topic that you have to closely examine. The worldly solutions are always temporary. It gives you a relief, no doubt. Master says it definitely gives you a relief from the suffering. If your honey pats you and hugs you, if you are in stress, it gives you definitely some kind of solace. Not a permanent solution. The time comes when you say, don't hug me. I'm busy. I'm doing my business. I'm earning for you. Are you getting it? We like pasta, but I'm busy, which is more important than the pasta. I throw the pasta. I'm not hungry. I don't like pasta. Now, I may like pasta when I'm hungry. We are going very deeper into it. Just why I thought to give you an introduction. Worldly solutions like medicine gives temporary relief, not permanent elimination. For permanent elimination, we need a knowledge. We need a knowledge. Why we need a knowledge? We have to remove the ignorance. You have to repeat it again and again in order to clearly understand, even though it is a dry topic. That's why I'm covering a lot of topics here. One example, I told you, discussed also before, that yajna, tap and dana must continue throughout our life. My master, for 53 years after awakening, continued the same journey. That is why he could see that supreme consciousness in every individual. So here we will understand it clearly how the entire scheme of the universe and the seeker works. Having said that, I'm just giving you one example. Our master says we will go deeper and understand that. Don't take it as a face value. I am doing some business with a dishonesty. I am suffering. I have to suffer because I have a sense of fear. But I am doing a business out of the honesty or any work out of the honesty. Then what happens? And also now I am aware of yajna, tapa and dana. That helps me not only in the material prosperity, but also it helps me to make me a seeker, what Janaka did. We all are professionals and social people. We are living in the world, so we have to keep this yajna tap in done all the time. Yes, to give a brief, 46. I'm just giving a little. So, Master says, what is real self? Real self is of the nature of permanent peace and happiness. You believe when I say, go to the market, buy this food, it is very tasty, even if your friend says. And one day you are free, you feel hungry, you like to go there. You don't know whether the food is tasty or not. And at the same time, you know the food gives you a temporary pleasure, and still you go there to check and understand, to experiment. The Master is saying, when I'm saying real self is permanent happiness, I know that you have not seen it. I know that you have not seen it, you have not realized it. So for food, you simply run after the food. And here I'm saying that real self is permanent happiness, permanent peace. You cannot create a desire for the real self. What kind of a person you are? In one situation you create that desire, in other situation you don't create. He's answering. So we have to keep our mind at that level of awareness. Desire. So the Brahma is defined as a bliss. Ananda. Anandam vai Brahma. That real self is of the nature of permanent bliss. Did I tell you? Yes, you told me. So you can't have a desire for that happiness. Now the seeker objection is gone. We have to go deeper into it. I'm just giving you a hint. Seeker objection is yes. Somebody tells me, calls me, now come on. Buy one, you get one free. Oh, that is good. I go there. Come on. You see, that is the nature of our mind, and I'm saying that this is permanent happiness, and you don't want to come. What kind of a person you are? So you see that his logic and his argument. I'm just giving a modern interpretation. So when I understand that real self is definitely permanent happiness, so obviously the mind should create a desire for the real self. And that desire for the real self, we have to start the journey of Shravan Manan and Nidhyasana. You are not going anywhere. What a great way to then because he has briefly, after resolving these objections, the master is Nishchal Das, this great master. So master says, is your mind calm? Are you still sitting with me? Are you still want to continue the journey? So the seeker says, yes. I now realize that it is making some sense what you have discussed with me. So the master says, again I will talk about the fourfold qualification in a special way. Now in a special way. Not in a general way that I have already discussed. So what is the intention of, where is the intention of the master? So seeker raises all those objections. He wanted to bring the seeker again to engage his mind on understanding the spatial nature of these fourfold practices. I have covered some of the topics briefly last year, not this year. So I will remind you, because I use those examples in Gita also, when we learned some topics on the Gita, we also learned something about the Tripti, Tushti and Rati. sensual pleasure, thirsty. I have a pleasure because I possess lot of things, and tripti. Tripti is satisfaction by eating the food. So Master says that we will understand that we have to go and re-understand, re-evaluate what exactly is the discernment, what exactly is the dispassion, what is six treasures, and then he brings us down to the intense desire. So I'm just giving you a hint in this, so you have to think over it, all these topics until topic number 47. Have you done Viveka? Yes. Have you done Vairagya? Yes. Do you experience the six treasures? Yes. So, what is the fourth qualification? Do you have an intense desire? Yes. So, this master will discuss if the intense desire is supported by the purity of the mind, 100%, or you say 80% of the purity of the mind, you will never leave the journey. If it is only 50%, you are just swinging like a pendulum. And if it is less than 50%, you only desire to be happy. You bring an end to the suffering while keeping the world as it is. You continue to want, continue to derive the pleasure from the world outside, but you are not looking for any pleasure from the real self or happiness from the real self. So obviously you are living in a duality, you are living in a conflict, and majority of the seekers fall into that category. So this master classifies the four types of intense seekers, the fourth qualification, based on different degree of viveka, different level of vairagya, different level of six treasures. Different levels of the